Former President Barack Obama has officially endorsed his former Vice President Joe Biden. So now this is immediately following the day that Bernie Sanders suspended his campaign and then gave his endorsement to Joe Biden. Now, this, of course, effectively ends the primary months before the Democratic convention is scheduled to happen. It got moved actually up to August. So, look, this is not a surprise, right? So, we knew that eventually, I wouldn't say no matter who won the Democratic primary, as you're going to see as we get into the story, but certainly Barack Obama was going to definitely endorse one of the establishment candidates after the primary was over. So now, what is surprising is the lack of reporting on how Obama wasn't just standing above the fray, right? No, he was actually helping Joe Biden become the nominee despite not giving an endorsement early on. In fact, the Daily Beast had a story that came out recently, and they reported that from the outset of the former vice president's presidential campaign, Obama had promised to stay out of the primary, right? Uh, in fact, Obama had discouraged Joe Biden from even getting into the primary and said, I'm not going to endorse anyone, right, until the primary is over. Now, Biden said, and again, I'll take all this with a grain of salt, uh, that he asked Obama to not endorse him, right? So that whoever won the nomination would do so on their own merits. Now, I have a bit of a problem with this because, again, I paid attention through this entire primary as I was reporting in this on this, and seeing how the primary actually went, you can't really say that he won on his own merits. Look, until South Carolina, Bernie Sanders was crushing the entire field. The centrist vote was massively split. Biden was running out of money. I remember doing that story. He had no infrastructure in a lot of Super Tuesday states, especially California, no ground game. And so, what was he doing? He was floundering, is what he was doing. And it looked like his campaign was likely going to die. But then South Carolina comes around and he gets the Clyburn endorsement. And then that allows him to win in South Carolina by a large margin because apparently, and this is something that I underestimated, the Clyburn endorsement carried a lot of weight in South Carolina's electorate. And, that electorate, of course, you have a lot of older, African Americans who are more conservative. And so, again, that endorsement to Joe Biden carried a ton of weight and allowed him to go to victory. All right. And so after that, here you had Super Tuesday coming up. Well, on the day before Super Tuesday, which is we call Bloody Monday, that's where Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, all the other centrist candidates that were left dropped out, coalesced around Biden, and all gave full-throated endorsements. You even had Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg, by the way, was beating Joe Biden by double digits. But no, he dropped out, endorsed Joe Biden, and that, of course, led to a massive Super Tuesday boost. You had all this positive media attention. And again, you had all these major endorsements, which actually that's actually, more effective than I thought they would ever be. But they were super, super effective. And they helped propel Biden to some massive victories in Super Tuesday. That gave him momentum for him to continue into Florida and the other states, Minnesota. And then, it's the end of Bernie, right? That's what happened. So can you really say Joe Biden did any of that on his own merits? Not at all. Not at all. Again, this was people coalescing behind Joe Biden, who really wasn't even actively campaigning all that much. No, it was the establishment saying, no, we've made our decision. We're going to be with Joe Biden. And that's it. I mean, look, who is really, a enthusiastic Biden supporter. I don't see a lot of those around. Look, there were enthusiastic Warren supporters, there were enthusiastic Kamala Harris supporters, not a lot of enthusiastic Biden supporters. Look, I even think that Hillary Clinton had more enthusiastic supporters than Joe Biden does. Joe Biden was like, I don't know, default, I guess. And so add that enthusiasm gap with Joe Biden's large amount of baggage, including, allegations of sexual assault. Not only that, but acting inappropriately around women. And so I think the only thing that was keeping Joe alive at this point is now everybody feels like they've got to line up behind him because, well, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Donald Trump, of course, right? So the thing about that is that Biden is now struggling in the polls against Donald Trump. Now, nationally, if you just look at the national polls, you'd say, well, what are you talking about? Biden has a very comfortable lead over Joe Biden, which means he'll do very well. But when it comes to battleground states and the electoral college fight, Biden is shaping up already to have the same weaknesses as Hillary Clinton. The New York Times explains, at the moment, a reasonable estimate is that Mr. Biden is performing 4 or 5 points worse among likely voters in the critical states that he is among registered voters nationwide. As a result, he only holds a narrow and tenuous edge in the race for the Electoral College, if he holds one at all. I know, but it must be. It must be, fake New York Times, right? Oh, right. Okay. Now they continue. Mr. Biden, despite his reputed appeal to blue collar workers, blue collar Joe, right? Where he goes and he yells at steel workers. Yeah. Has made little to no progress in winning back the white voters without a college degree who supported Barack Obama in 2012 but swung to Mr. Trump in 2016. That's the New York Times. So what we're seeing is a replay of 2016, despite, of course, the field being, the situation, the conditions being completely different than it was in 2016. Now we have a pandemic, and now we have a massive economic recession that could end up being worse than the Great Depression. So, and look, when it comes to responses to the coronavirus, by the way, Biden's response has been lackluster at best. Trump's has been disastrous, and we know that already. But Biden is doing pretty badly. Biden actually lags behind a pair of Democratic governors and 3 of President Trump's public health experts when it comes to trustworthiness on handling of coronavirus. So, I mean, that's according to a new insider poll. So they don't even trust Joe Biden to be a leader on this. So that's disastrous. No, Joe Biden should have came out like Bernie Sanders and did streams every single day, tried to raise, money for coronavirus victims, and actually put out policy discussions, policy positions that will rise to meet the challenges of our new normal. Instead, he did not. That did not happen. Back to Obama, right? So now, Obama, look, him staying neutral until the end of the primary, supposedly neutral, right? Well, that made some Biden people very angry. In fact, one source told the Daily Beast, quote, "Why isn't the president supporting me when I've done so much to, 1, create his achievements and legacy, and 2, just have a sense of friendship," the source said. Summing up what they said are some of the conflicting emotions brought on by Obama's decision to not engage in the primary until its end. Quote, "Why has this endorsement taken so long?" I'll tell you what, it's pure Obama, right? I'm above it all. No drama, Obama. I'm staying out of the fray. I'm just going to watch from afar. That's me. That's who I am. That's Obama, right? Now, that, of course, is not true as well, because in reality, he was a driving force behind Biden becoming the nominee. According to the New York Times, Obama has been considerably more engaged in the campaign's denouement than has been previously revealed. And here it comes. For months, he had kept in close contact with senior party officials in hopes of preventing a repeat of the protracted and nasty 2016 primary race. Now, let me just stop there, right? Because that supposed nasty, prolonged race in 2016 was actually more tame compared to 2008. That primary was far more nasty. And guess what? You had both Hillary Clinton versus Barack Obama. Again, that was a disgusting primary where Hillary Clinton had gone full birther and introduced that birther conspiracy, put out that picture of Obama in Muslim garb. You had the 3 a.m. phone call, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. And yet they want to say that this primary was nasty when Bernie Sanders was actually too nice to attack Hillary Clinton and in that primary, and too nice to attack Joe Biden on his mental state, his deteriorating mental faculties, right? Too nice to attack him on the subject of Tara Reade. Too nice to attack him on a lot of different issues. Bernie Sanders left a lot of ammunition on the table that Donald Trump would be more than happy to use and will use. And so, I mean, yeah, nasty, divisive primary. Ridiculous, right? But again, that's the New York Times. It's her perspective, because apparently a lot of people were loud on social media and were typing snake emojis. Wow, so toxic. But there's more. They write, in the weeks after it became clear that Mr. Biden was the party's near certain nominee, Mr. Obama, telling a friend he needed to, quote, accelerate the end game, had at least 4 long conversations with his former vice president's remaining rival, Senator Bernie Sanders. And so, look, the conversations apparently had borne fruit because you had Bernie Sanders that eventually left the race. In fact, they said Mr. Obama's efforts to ease the senator out of the race played a significant role in his decision to end his bid and on Monday endorse Mr. Biden, according to people close to the Vermont Independent. So I don't know what Obama said, but I do know that there was immense pressure on Bernie Sanders to step down, to get out of the race early. Maybe it's because they said, well, look, you got to get out now. You have no path to victory. And you don't want to see what happened, when you stayed in for as long as you did against Hillary Clinton happen again, right? You don't want to be responsible for Donald Trump. And then maybe we might consider some of your tiny little bit of your policy position, but not too much. I don't know, but I do know that there had to have been a ton of pressure on Bernie Sanders for him to make this decision to not stay in at least till the convention. And I think coronavirus honestly had something to do with it. Maybe they said, look, we're going to keep doing primary elections then, and we're going to keep, and this is my speculation, we're just going to keep, urging people to go and vote in person and possibly get coronavirus. And then we're going to blame you for it. Look, Bernie Sanders cares about one thing. He cares about humanity, right? He cares about people. And so if it came down to him having to leave the race because, like, okay, I don't want to get people hurt, I don't want to be responsible for this. I don't like, I do want to beat Trump and I do want to make some sort of progress. And so, okay, fine, I'll do it. I don't know if that's what happened, but I think maybe. I mean, anything's possible. And not only that, but look, you also have Bernie Sanders having a lot of respect for Joe Biden. I do not share that respect for Joe Biden and Barack Obama, not anymore. I voted for the guy twice and was thoroughly disappointed both times. But again, Bernie Sanders I think he's too nice of a guy. And so he did fall to that pressure. And I understand that. Now, going back to Obama, right? Now, Obama had also been criticizing Bernie Sanders behind the scenes during this primary and said, oh, people don't want to burn down the system. No, no, no. They want change, but they want incremental change. Well, if you look at exit polls in all the states that had a chance to vote, and you look at the popularity of a policy like Medicare for all, no, a lot of people are like, yes, we should have Medicare for all. We should have a single payer system. A single payer system is much, much better than a system that, in times of very, very high unemployment, leaves millions of people without their health insurance. Again, you have over 10 million people, 16 million, I think now, who don't have, jobs, who are on unemployment. And a lot of those people, statistically, about half of all Americans get their insurance through their employer. And now they no longer have that insurance. And so that's unfortunate. And that's exactly why a single payer system would be beneficial for everyone. But okay. Look, he also, Obama had helped Biden with this campaign strategy. And so here's the thing, that's 100% Obama. I'm going to go and say that I'm staying neutral on the outside, but in reality, I'm also working against Bernie Sanders. We're going to be against Bernie Sanders. We're going to protect the establishment. Anybody but Bernie. I'll stay out of it as long as it's not Bernie. And so that's the problem. And again, Obama, we know he's all about the establishment, right? Thing is, in 2008, he actually had the youth vote. He was a fundamental change candidate. And he did so in a way, he campaigned in a way that Biden is going to struggle to do. And Hillary Clinton certainly struggled. And, he actually did get the youth vote, which turns out to be actually really important. Biden has a weakness in that. Nobody under 45, barely any voters under 45, voted for Biden in the primary states. They're now banking on Bernie's endorsement and Obama's endorsement to try to bring out young people, and I don't think it's going to work. No, I think it's it didn't work when Bernie endorsed Clinton. I don't think it will work now. People who followed Bernie who are in, I don't think they're going to follow him now. They love Bernie. I love Bernie Sanders, but the thing is, it's not about Bernie Sanders. It never was. The thing is that Bernie Sanders, a lot of us leftists believe that Bernie Sanders is, a good person, but he is also an imperfect vehicle for change, for the kinds of policies that we really want to see. It's never been about the person. It's always been about policies. I say that all the time on the show, and it's always been true. And so when Bernie says, you should probably just vote for Biden now because it's the best thing, I don't think a lot of people are going to listen. Some are going to make the tactical decision to vote for Biden, and that's fine. And some are going to say, no, electoral politics has failed me. It's failed the country. And so I don't know. I'm just either not going to be involved, or I'm going to vote a socialist alternative, or I'm going to vote, for whatever, or not vote at all, or it's a vote down ticket. There's a bunch of different things they could do. And of course, a lot of people don't mention those Obama Trump voters, right? The people who voted for Obama because he was open change, that voted for Donald Trump, that would have given Bernie Sanders a chance. And now we'll just go back to voting for Trump. And so that's the situation that they're in. They lost those potential Bernie Sanders voters to now the reelection of Donald Trump. Now, that said, if Biden picked up some of Bernie's policies, which have been proven to be the correct policies, because we're now in a pandemic and an economic collapse, he could get some of those Bernie voters. True. But there is a large problem with Biden, and that's trust, right? The reason that people trusted Bernie and will not trust Biden is because Bernie Sanders has a proven record of fighting for those policies. Joe Biden doesn't, and in fact, he has tripled down on vetoing Medicare for all if it ever came to his desk. So that is another problem for Biden, who has a lot of problems already. And so I don't think any of that is going to get fixed with a Bernie endorsement or with the endorsement of Barack Obama. And so, other than diehard Democrats and people who, generally still like Obama, I don't necessarily see this helping Biden get the voters that he needs, independent non-voters, to vote in favor of Biden over Trump. And that is a scary thought. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.